Right, ready for a deep dive. Today, it's brainwashing.
Okay.
Yeah, a term that, well, it's loaded, I guess you could say, with intrigue and maybe even a little bit of fear.
Yeah.
It's often used in these like sensationalized ways. But today we're going to try to unpack all the nuances and really get to the realities behind this whole idea. And we've got some seriously interesting sources to help us with this. We'll be looking at a 1984 episode of The Fifth Estate. It's a Canadian documentary series, and this particular episode really digs into the CIA's MKUltra project, specifically their work with this guy, Dr. Ewen Cameron, and his controversial experiments at the Allen Memorial Institute. So then we'll kind of shift gears a little bit. We'll explore some excerpts from a motivational speaker named Dandapani and a neuroscientist named Dr. Joe Dispenza. And they talk about brainwashing yourself, but not in a scary way, but for personal growth and success. So this brings up some interesting questions like, can we really control our minds like that? What are the ethical lines?
And, what can we actually learn from the darker side of all these mind control attempts that have happened? Let's jump in.
Yeah, the term brainwashing, it often brings to mind, these images of like shadowy figures manipulating minds.
Yeah.
For some nefarious purpose. But the concept itself is actually far more complex than that.
Right. And that Fifth Estate episode, it really brings this to light. It focuses on MKUltra Sub-Project 68, led by Dr. Cameron.
Yeah.
In Montreal during the Cold War.
Yeah.
And this episode, doesn't shy away from the chilling reality of what happened there.
Yeah, and the historical context here I think is crucial. Amid all the anxieties of the Cold War, the CIA, they were deeply concerned about the Soviets using mind control techniques. They were determined to develop their own methods, both offensively and defensively. And Dr. Cameron, he believed he could achieve this through something he called psychic driving.
Okay, psychic driving. So
Yeah.
what exactly was that?
Well, imagine being bombarded with the same hypnotic messages repeatedly, sometimes, hundreds of thousands of times. The aim was to essentially just wipe the slate clean and then, implant new thoughts and behaviors. And to achieve this, this so-called blank slate, Cameron, he used a whole variety of methods, including experimental drugs like LSD, massive doses of electroshock therapy, and sensory deprivation.
And the episode, it really drives home the point that this wasn't just theoretical, They actually interview several former patients who went through these experiments. And their accounts, they're really tough to hear. They describe feeling terrified, confused, and completely powerless. One patient, Val Orlikow, she even tried to take her own life after returning home.
Yeah, and these accounts, they really underscore the ethical violations that were at the heart of this project. Many patients were already struggling with mental health issues, and they never gave informed consent. So it raises, some serious questions about the limits of scientific exploration and the responsibility to protect vulnerable individuals.
It's chilling to think this happened with government funding, practically, right in our own backyards. And the episode, it goes into detail about how the CIA, they went to great lengths to cover it all up. They even destroyed most of the MKUltra files. And it took years of legal battles for some of the truth to surface.
The episode really serves as this stark warning, about what can happen when power and scientific ambition go unchecked. It forces us to confront some uncomfortable truths about our history and the potential for abuse, even, in the pursuit of knowledge.
The MKUltra project, it definitely shows the dark side of mind control. But what about this idea that we can brainwash ourselves, like Dandapani suggests? He says we're actually brainwashed every day, but not by some government agency, but by something much more common, distractions.
Dandapani, he highlights the overwhelming amount of stimuli we're exposed to, especially in today's digital age. Our attention is constantly being pulled in a million directions, and it makes it really hard to truly focus and control our own minds.
He uses a great analogy, actually. He compares our energy to money. We have a limited amount, right? And we need to be careful how we spend it. If we're always reacting to every notification, every email, every social media post, we're essentially giving our mental energy away, leaving us drained and, ultimately less in control of our own thoughts.
And he's not saying that, technology is inherently bad, but it's about taking control of our relationship with it and being more intentional about how we use our devices. We don't have to become slaves to their demands.
He stresses practicing concentration. So the ability to focus on one thing for a longer period. And that's where this idea of brainwashing yourself comes in.
Yeah, Dandapani suggests that by consciously directing our attention and practicing focus, we can actually retrain our minds. We can strengthen our concentration and become less susceptible to that constant bombardment of distractions.
You give some really practical tips, too, like focusing intensely on a single task. Even something as simple as having a conversation with a loved one without letting your mind wander.
He emphasizes presence and engagement in everyday activities. Even seemingly ordinary things. They can become opportunities to strengthen our mental focus if we approach them with intention.
It makes you think about how often our minds are actually somewhere else, even when we're doing everyday things.
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Joe Dispenza, he tackles this whole idea of brainwashing from a neuroscientific angle. So, how can we rewire our brains for success and growth? I'm curious to hear more about his take on this.
Yeah, Dispenza's perspective is it's fascinating,
Good.
because he highlights the power of our thoughts and beliefs to actually shape our reality. He argues that by, choosing our thoughts and focusing on the feelings that we want to experience, we can actually change our brain chemistry and even influence our gene expression.
Whoa, that sounds pretty mind-blowing. Is there any science to actually back that up?
Well, yeah, he grounds his argument in the concept of neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to change and adapt throughout our lives. He suggests, that we're not stuck with the brain that we were born with. We can actually reshape it through our thoughts, beliefs, and actions.
So it's not just wishful thinking. We can actually rewire our brains for real.
He emphasizes, the importance of repetition and emotional intensity. He suggests that by consistently focusing on a desired outcome and emotionally embodying that future, we can create new neural circuits in our brains, essentially rewiring ourselves for success or happiness or whatever we're aiming for.
I can see how this connects to the idea of brainwashing. Both involve repetition and, intense focus. But one is driven externally and the other comes from within.
Exactly. And Dispenza, he supports his claims with research. He cites studies that show how practices like meditation can actually lead to measurable changes in the brain, heart rate, and even gene expression.
Okay, this is starting to sound a little bit like, the power of positive thinking. But is it really that simple?
Well, Dispenza, he goes beyond just simple positive thinking. He emphasizes taking concrete steps to align, your thoughts, emotions, and actions with your desired outcome. It's about actively engaging in the process of transformation, not just hoping for the best.
So it's not like a magic wand. You actually have to put in the work, huh?
Absolutely. And he acknowledges that breaking, deeply ingrained habits and beliefs can be pretty uncomfortable and challenging. He compares it to overcoming an addiction. It requires willpower and facing, your inner demons. But he believes the discomfort is a small price to pay for the freedom and fulfillment. That comes from mastering your own mind.
Both Dandapani and Dispenza talk about the importance of being present and mindful of our thoughts and emotions.
Yeah.
But they approach it from different angles, right?
Yeah. Dandapani, He focuses on being present in daily activities, even the mundane ones. By bringing, full attention to each task, we train our minds to be more focused and less reactive. Dispenza, on the other hand, he emphasizes a deeper sense of presence that's achieved through practices like meditation. He argues that by quieting the mind, we can tap into a state of pure potential and reprogram our subconscious beliefs.
So one is about mastering external distractions, and the other is about mastering the internal chatter of the mind.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And they both ultimately point towards the same goal, which is taking control of our minds so we can consciously shape our experiences and create a reality that aligns with our deepest values.
This all links back to those, chilling MKUltra experiments. The project highlights the potential for abuse when the mind is controlled by external forces. But the ideas that Dandapani and Dispenza kind of flip the script. They're suggesting that we can harness the power of brainwashing for our own benefit.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that the mind is an incredibly powerful tool. Whoever controls it, whether it's ourselves or outside forces, has a profound influence over our lives.
It's a bit unsettling to think about, but also empowering in a way. So if we can brainwash ourselves for positive change, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't that also make us more susceptible to manipulation from, other people? So how do we guard against that?
That's a crucial question. While we explore the potential for self-directed change, we also need to be aware of the potential for manipulation, both from within and, from external sources.
So how do we do that?
Well, Dispenza, he offers some valuable insights here. He argues that to break free from old patterns, we need to challenge our limiting beliefs and create, new, more empowering habits. It's like stepping out of a pair of shoes that are too small. They might have fit once, but now they're constricting us.
That's a great analogy. It makes the whole process of change more tangible. But letting go of the familiar can be pretty scary, can't it?
It absolutely can. Dispenza compares it to, a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. The caterpillar has to completely dissolve its old form before it can emerge as something new. It's not always easy or comfortable,
Right.
but it's essential for growth.
And that idea of transformation, it resonates with the stories of the MKUltra survivors. Despite their, horrific experiences, some, like Val Orlico, they found the strength to rebuild their lives and even become advocates for others.
It's it's a testament to the human spirit's resilience and capacity for healing. It shows that even in the face of immense trauma, we can find a way to move forward and create meaning.
It's like a phoenix rising from the ashes. I mean, those survivors, they had to confront their deepest fears and rebuild their lives from scratch. It really speaks volumes about the power of the human spirit.
Yeah, and it highlights the importance of community and support, in navigating challenging experiences. And it reminds us that even in the darkest of times, transformation and healing are possible.
So whether we're talking about, consciously brainwashing ourselves for positive change or confronting the trauma of external manipulation, it seems like resilience plays a key role.
Absolutely. We're not just passive recipients of our experiences, right? We have the power to choose how we respond, learn from challenges, and use those experiences to grow and become more of who we're meant to be.
That brings us to another, fascinating aspect of all this, social influence and how it shapes our beliefs and behaviors.
Yeah, we're social beings, right? We're constantly influenced by the people around us, the media, cultural norms, and so much more. And this influence can be positive, helping us learn and connect with others.
But it can also be a source of manipulation, right? Leading us to adopt beliefs and behaviors that might not actually align with our true values.
Like we're walking a tightrope. On one hand, we have this incredible power to shape our own minds and create positive change. But on the other hand, that same power makes us vulnerable to manipulation from external forces.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance. Think about advertising. They're experts at using psychological techniques to influence our buying decisions, right? Often by appealing to our emotions rather than logic.
They make us believe that buying their products will make us, happier, more successful, or more attractive. It's subtle, but it's a form of brainwashing that we often fall prey to.
Exactly. And that's why critical thinking and self-awareness are so crucial. We need to be able to distinguish between information that's genuinely helpful and information that's designed to manipulate us.
We need to develop a sort of internal filter that can sift through all the noise and help us make conscious choices about what we allow into our minds.
It's a process of constantly questioning assumptions, examining our own beliefs, and being mindful of the influences we expose ourselves to. It's a lifelong journey of learning and growth.
And that journey seems even more important in today's world, where we're bombarded with information from every direction.
Now, Dispenza, he takes this idea of conscious choice a step further. He suggests that as we become more intentional in our thoughts and actions, we actually start to influence something called the quantum field, the underlying energy that connects everything in the universe.
It's a bold idea that bridges science and spirituality, suggesting that our individual consciousness can actually impact the fabric of reality.
So we're not just isolated individuals, but interconnected beings who are all part of something much bigger than ourselves.
That's the idea. And it invites us to step into a greater sense of responsibility, recognizing that our thoughts, emotions, and actions have a ripple effect that extends far beyond our individual lives.
That's a pretty profound thought. It makes you realize how much power we truly have, both to shape our own lives and to contribute to a larger collective shift. But I'm still a bit confused about the quantum field. How does our consciousness actually interact with it?
Dispenza explains that. Our thoughts and emotions generate an electromagnetic field that interacts with the quantum field. By focusing our thoughts and emotions on a desired outcome, we're essentially sending a signal into the field, attracting circumstances and opportunities that align with that vision.
So we're like human radio transmitters, sending out signals into the universe.
He uses that analogy. He compares our thoughts and emotions to radio waves. If we want to attract abundance, love, or healing into our lives, we need to tune our internal radio to the frequencies of those qualities. We become a vibrational match for what we desire.
That makes the idea of brainwashing ourselves even more powerful. It's not just about changing our individual thoughts and beliefs. It's about aligning our entire being, thoughts, emotions, and actions, with the reality we want to create.
It's about becoming a magnet for the people, circumstances, and opportunities that support our highest vision for ourselves and the world.
This deep dive has been a wild ride. We've gone from the dark depths of CIA mind control experiments to the empowering potential of self-directed transformation. We even touched on the idea that we can influence the fabric of reality itself.
It's been a journey through the complexities of the human mind, exploring both its vulnerabilities and its incredible potential.
So, as we wrap up, I want to leave our listener with this final thought. If we have the power to brainwash ourselves for good, to reprogram our minds and create positive change, does that also make us more susceptible to manipulation from outside forces?
It's a question worth pondering, and it's a question each of us has to answer through our own choices, actions, and beliefs. The battle for the mind is real, and awareness is our strongest weapon.
Understanding how our minds work and consciously choosing the thoughts, beliefs, and influences that shape our reality is crucial. Keep exploring, questioning, and choosing to create a life that aligns with your highest vision. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of brainwashing.